Welcome to Startup Hack. My name is Spencer Thomason. I'm the CEO and co-founder of CleanRouter, as well as many other products. Here are some of the lessons that I've learned building a successful business while challenging startup norms. My challenge is to push you to rethink startup success. So for our episode today, we're going to talk about how we turned a $40,000 loss into a success. Turn your failure into a success. So I'm going to be dual recording this. I'm going to be shooting on the video on YouTube, but I'm also going to use the audio as a podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, then make sure to go and subscribe and leave a good review. And make sure you go and check out the previous episodes. Since this is a story, then it will make a little more sense to know the backstory. So this episode is how we turned a $40,000 loss into a success, and how you can turn failure into a success. I've been a software developer for over 22 years. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Karsten, and I have 5 awesome kids. I started this channel to tell the stories that I have about how we started a successful company knowing nothing about how to start a company. Clean Technology is the parent company of CleanRouter, as well as other technologies and products. This podcast is going to focus on the launch of CleanRouter. It is going to be about how we took this idea and passion and built it to something great. So as I discussed in previous episodes, myself and the other co-founder, Eric, had an idea to make the first content filtering router for parents to be able to filter all of the internet as it came into your home. So this was the start of the idea that has grown to over a $5 million business. Seriously, if you haven't gone to listen to the previous episodes, go do it now and hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really helps. So it was 2009. So we had come up with the idea, we had the working prototype, and you need to go back and look at those other episodes. And now it was time to start to hunt for the board that we were going to use to build this on. So we spent weeks hunting through the internet. We tried to set up meetings with different Chinese manufacturers. Eric and I spent night after night trying to hunt for the board that was going to be perfect for us to be able to use to launch our business. We even looked into trying to build our own boards and just kept coming back to the point that it was too expensive. We needed something far more powerful than routers had at the time, and there was very few boards that supported flashing OpenWRT, which is a version of Linux, to these boards. So we finally found a board manufacturer. His name was Pascal, is the guy who owned it. His company was PC Engines. He was in Switzerland, and the board was called Alix. These were the Alix boards. We bought one, started to build on it, and then bought 10 more to start prototyping. Once we got these running, we decided this was the board. Now this board wasn't perfect. A few things that we already knew we didn't like. Wireless was still new, so a lot of things were still hardwired. With only 2 Ethernet ports, it meant that people would have to buy an Ethernet switch with it, which obviously wasn't ideal for a residential situation. The operating system, OpenWRT, which is a Linux distribution, would have to be flashed onto the compact flash card. This meant that anyone could pull the card and steal our intellectual property. Compact flash cards were also slow and expensive. The components for these boards were super expensive, and the board was expensive as well. However, despite these things, the Alix board was the best board that we could find. So I scheduled a time to talk to Pascal. He was in Switzerland, and so I got up at 3 a.m. and called him on this pretty new thing called Skype. He spoke good English and was very patient with someone that was obviously their first time trying to order a large product. He had a set of boards that he'd done for a custom order, and he was willing to offload all of these if we would take the whole lot of them. So we had to take all of them, but we'd get a really good deal on them. So that meant that I needed to order $40,000 worth of this board. Now I'm sure you already recognize that $40,000 number from the title of the video, but that meant that we needed to order 40,000 of these boards. And there you had it. There's the actual invoice from him. We ordered 500 of these to be exact. Now, notice the invoice that there is no cases. We're building our own case because we were certain that the case was going to be critical to our success. We were certain that those cases were going to become what would become part of our brand. So, where are we going to keep 500 of these boards? Remember, still just Eric and I starting this company. So, where are we going to keep them? Of course, in the guest bedroom, and the living room, and of course my office. And along with all the other supplies that we needed, like boxes, bubble wraps, and many other things that we would need to build it. And don't mind the budding pop star, of course. But we had all the parts, we developed the software for this board, and we spent $40,000 and we're ready to go. We were working on the case, which I'll talk about in another episode, and we thought we were totally ready to ship. We'd built all the software. It was about ready to be tested. And then the perfect board came out. A company by the name of Ubiquity started to ship what was called the Router Station Pro. This board had 4 ports, which was going to be critical for the time. It didn't use the compact flash, but had the memory built onto the board so that we would be able to flash this OpenWRT image to the board and make it possible for us to be able to preserve our intellectual property. It was more expensive, but we knew this was the right board. So Eric and I were faced with a decision. What do we do with this $40,000 worth of boards that we had stacked all over my house? As we researched, we found there was actually this huge cult following of people who use pfSense and other Linux distros for embedded servers and high-end routers. Well, remember I'd gotten a really good deal on these boards too, but we were still not sure. Do we take the boards that we had and launch something that was at least okay, or do we go with the right decision, and launch the boards that would be better for our customers? Well, we figured out that we'd gotten a good deal for these boards, and the core of what we're using is the board itself. We'd gotten it at almost a 50% price. So we decided to spend an extra $2,000 to $3,000, kind of doubling down on our bad decision from before. We bought all of the various components to build these high-end router kits. We then took these and started an eBay store selling these high-end router kits. We were able to mark these development kits up over 50% of the hardware costs of what we'd spent, and sold these regularly. So as we started to ramp up CleanRouter sales, which we'll talk about in another episode, this eBay store supplemented our CleanRouter sales. In the end, we ended up taking this $40,000, spending about another $5,000 over the next coming months, and turned this into over $120,000 of sales over the next 18 months. This kept CleanRouter alive for the first 18 months. This $40,000 failure ended up being one of the smartest business decisions I've ever made. So that's how we took a $40,000 loss and turned it into a success. Turn your failures into a success. Now, along the way, another funny story about this. These boards used a compact flash card, right? So we knew we were going to need to get one of these we knew we were going to have to set up these, get one board set up and then clone the cards over and over. So we started looking for one of these duplicators. They were super expensive. We couldn't find any for under $2,000. Then we ended up searching eBay, and I came up with one. So I put a bid in it for $100. Eric and I were sitting there together, and we saw this, and we were so excited. So we put this initial bid in. You can actually see the email that I got here. And so we put the bid in, and then Eric left for the weekend. But we didn't discuss who was going to watch the bid. So as the bid near closed that weekend, it kept going up, and I kept bidding, and I kept going up, and I kept bidding. But I finally bid over $250 and beat the person out who was bidding against me. Well, yep, you guessed it. Eric was at home bidding on it as well, not understanding that he was bidding against me. So 2 business partners ended up jacking up the price against ourselves. Simple lesson here. You can't over-communicate things as partners. So in closing, I would ask you to take a look at this and think about this today. What can you take today that you might have thought was a failure and make it into a success? If you can think on this question and you can take this simple lesson that I've taught here and take one of your failures and turn it into a success, then you can continue on your journey to become a successful business owner. So as a reminder, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and then share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.